What's up, guys? How you doing? This is Ryan, also known as Florida Gator News here. Sorry, I've been lacking the videos. I haven't put any Gator videos out. I just had it cross my mind. School's been, on my mind lately. I had to finish my school first 9 weeks strong, and so I had to kind of put off the YouTube a little bit and concentrate on school. I'm gonna do picks week 8. Florida does have a bye this week. This is the first time I've looked at the picks this week. Sorry for all the moving around and everything. And so here we go. My pool is going by AP standings, rankings, not BCS. So, it goes by BCS. So here we go. First game: UCLA at Oregon, Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. 21.5 point favorites are Oregon. I think in that UCLA is looking for the upset here, and I do think UCLA's offense is really high-powered. Oregon's defense is very lacking, and if UCLA plays like they did against Texas, they could come up with a victory. I don't think they win this one. I think they keep this one within 20 points. Now we're going to go ahead and go on the Saturday games. Duke at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech 26.5 point favorites at noon. It's at Virginia Tech. Duke played a really good game against Miami last week. They only allowed 28 points, and they scored 13. They kept the game close as long as possible. But this time they're dealing with a much high-powered offense, and I think a way better defense. So I do think Virginia Tech does get the coverage here, maybe by 30. As in they win by 30, not cover the spread by more than what it is by 30. Alright, so Iowa State at Texas. Iowa State coming off huge losses. Getting just totally blown out against Oklahoma. It was Oklahoma's second only blowout game, really. They've had every other game very close to go for Florida State. And then they have the game at Texas. I'll be right back. Gonna answer the phone. Okay, anyways, back to the pick. I had to go right to the phone. Texas coming off a huge victory against Nebraska. And I think they're going to come out this game a little weak. That's why I'm going to pick up Iowa State. I know Iowa State's really bad, but it's just one of those games that they're probably going to have a huge letdown. Texas will. And I think they're going to have a hard time struggling on offense. Next is Michigan State at Northwestern. Northwestern on the underdog by 6.5 points. Michigan State, the top dog in the Big Ten right now. A little surprising, but I see them a national championship contender. And Northwestern, a team with only one loss. They're a little under the radar. They're 1-1 away from being in the top 25. And if they want to beat Purdue, they would be in the top 25 right now, undefeated. And I do think Michigan State does come up with this win. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to cover the 6.5 with a touchdown. Next is Purdue at Ohio State. Ohio State obviously coming off the huge loss in Madison, Wisconsin. This week they're playing Purdue at home, 23.5 point favorites, and I think they're going to get it done this week, rebounding from a bad loss to a very positive win. It's going to get them running back up. Next is Syracuse. It's West Virginia. West Virginia 16.5 point favorites. They didn't have any trouble against USF, a pretty good defensive team on offense, and on defense they look spectacular. Syracuse offense, which is not very good, but a Syracuse defense is pretty good. I expect this game to be close, but not close enough for Syracuse. West Virginia gets this one done by 20. Next is Ole Miss at Arkansas. Obviously, Ole Miss getting their new nickname, the Rebel Black Bear. Going at Arkansas, 3.5 point favorites only for Arkansas. Mississippi came off a pretty strong performance against Alabama. They only lost 28-10, but it could have been a lot closer. So, but I do think Arkansas does get a positive win here, maybe win by 10 or something. I see Mississippi State coming out a little shocker here, but keeping this one pretty close. Arkansas with the win. Next is Kansas State at Baylor. Kansas State ranked now in 22, even though they lost to Nebraska. At Baylor, only 7.5 point favorites now, because Baylor is a very strong offensive team. And just for that, I'm going with Baylor. I think they're going to win this game. Kansas State's going to get knocked out already. I mean, two high-powered offenses. Kansas State shows that they, once they go up against a pretty decent defense, they can't score, such as Nebraska. They did come off a strong showing against Kansas, but I think Baylor is slightly better than Kansas. Next is number 6 LSU, number 4 Auburn. Auburn only 6.5-point favorites. 3:30 game at Auburn, and I see LSU coming up with this win. You can't win every game by how you have been winning, but I do see LSU shocking the whole Tiger Nation at Auburn and coming up with this victory. Next is Nebraska at Oklahoma State. Two top ranked teams going at it. 5.5-point favorites for Nebraska. And obviously, Nebraska coming off a big loss last weekend at home, seeking the revenge against Texas for the last year's Big 12 championship title. I just think Nebraska's defense is way too good, and Oklahoma State's defense is just not good enough for Nebraska. So I have Nebraska covering this one. Next is Wisconsin and Iowa, another two-ranked team matchup, conference matchup. 6.5-point favorites are Wisconsin. Wisconsin coming off a huge win. Iowa a very good team, especially at home, and that's why I'm going to go with Iowa. Ricky Stanzi and their offense is is Wisconsin let down. Do see Iowa coming up with this one. Washington State at Stanford. Stanford 34.5-point favorites. No question about this one. I'm going to go with Stanford. Stanford's offense way too high-powered. Washington State just not good. Next is Colorado State at Utah. Utah's covered the past 2 weeks. Now they're favored by 30.5. If they can win 69-20 against Iowa State, they can do the same against Colorado State. I'm going with Utah. Next, 7 o'clock. Number 8, Alabama at Tennessee. 16.5-point favorites for Alabama. Tennessee always plays Alabama strong. It's one of the rivalries. They always play each other on the 3rd October weekend. And I do see Alabama winning this one, but not by much. So I'm going to go with Tennessee here. Maybe a touchdown game, 10-point game, something like that, but not a 16.5-point game. Next is South Carolina at Vanderbilt. 2.5-point favorites. Obviously, South Carolina 2 weeks ago comes up with the biggest one of their college history, and then they come up with the next weekend losing. Obviously, a big letdown. They had a 28-10 lead. This week they're going at Vanderbilt, who has a very strong defense, but a pretty weak offense, and they came off a pretty bad performance last week. I don't know if they're going to be able to rebound or not, but I am going to go with South Carolina, maybe winning by 2 touchdowns, barely covering the spread. Next is UAB at Mississippi State. Mississippi State making the 24th ranking after their performance against us. They're 20.5-point favorites. UAB almost beat Tennessee in the SEC, so we know they can play in the SEC. They have a pretty good offense, but it's inconsistent. If they can stay consistent in this game, I think UAB can hold Mississippi State under 21 points. Period. Their defense is pretty bad, but if UAB's offense can show up, then I'm going with UAB. Next is Air Force at TCU. Air Force coming off a big loss to San Diego State, and TCU, obviously the number 5 team in the country. Air Force runs a triple option. They're going to be looking for an upset. 20.5-point favorites. I don't see TCU winning this one, actually. I'm going to go with Air Force, give TCU their first loss of the year, and basically knock them out of the BCS. Next game is number 1 Oklahoma at number 11 Missouri. Missouri is 3.5-point underdogs. I have Oklahoma winning this one badly. They're going to show up again because they show up the games they need to play. And those are the big games. Last game, Washington and Arizona. Arizona 7.5-point favorites against a Washington team that came off a huge overtime win against Oregon State. I just see Washington's offense is way too high-powered for Arizona, but Washington's defense is terrible. Arizona's defense is actually pretty decent. That's why I'm going to go with Arizona. I see the tiebreaker in that game to be about 76. Okay, guys, that is it. I am Ryan. I'm out. Hope you enjoyed the picks this week, and peace.